All right, everybody, we're going live, getting live. We are live at BURN2, and I'm just showing a slideshow while we get ready. We're going to go live in just a moment on Playa. DJ Puddles is doing a advanced DJ skills. Let me read to you the types of stuff you're going to be learning. Hold on while I get to the right page. BURN2.org is where I go, and I'm going to our schedule. Let me get this set up so you guys can see what's going on. So that's just, here we go. That's just the stream scene I've got for you. But if you go to the BURN2.org website and you go to event calendar, you are going to see the events that are going on today. What's today? Today's the 29th. And so we go to the 29th. Let me see here. I think that's... here we go. Got it. I'm up in the wrong place. So in the calendar, you go to DJ Workshop Advanced. Join DJ Puddles for an overview, demonstration, and discussion of the technical and creative skills employed by DJs who beatmatch mix their music into one continuous live music stream suitable for online virtual events. This event will take place at BURN2 at the training stage in Second Life. Participants will need a free Second Life account and free viewer software found at secondlife.com in advance. Please bring your avatar to this virtual location. Participants will be able to engage in workshops and ask questions via Second Life's built-in local chat text. Participants will also need, let me turn this music down. There we go. We'll also need, what did I say? A web browser capable of viewing a live video stream that will include a live video and audio of the workshop material and demonstrations. So I see that we have this also being streamed at Mixcloud at the mixcloud.com /burn2 Second Life Mixcloud channel. We have two channels, everybody, two channels to stream with. This workshop is aimed at anyone with an interest in Beatmatch DJing and how it's done, from beginners to accomplished DJs who want to learn how to mix their tunes together without gaps. It is aimed particularly at online DJs who live stream their music into virtual online events or live online radio. And it goes on and it gives you more details. If you want to know more about that detail, please go ahead and look at the calendar at the burn2.org website for today from 5 to 6 p.m. to read the rest. So stand by while I get set up here. We're about 4 minutes in to the start of 5 o'clock. And we're probably not going to start right on time while we wait for everybody to come sit down and get settled. So I'm just going to put back this slideshow. Here's a DJ doing some DJing in-world in Second Life at one of our BURN2 events. That must have been, I think, from 2012 or 2011. So this is Super Suze. You're listening to Super Suze on the YouTube studio channel for live streaming with BURN2 Virtual in Second Life. That's the website, the YouTube address, the channel. And getting ready. Just give us a second here. Let me get my microphone set up just right and some other things. I need to put we are streaming live. Live stream blinker. That's what I need. Okay. And my inventory. Just a moment here. You're looking at a slideshow of past stuff that's going on, that went on at BURN2. And I'm just going to put a stream blinky. Make it blink. All right. Almost ready. Okay, and so here we go. Let me get rid of all of that for you. Okay, so we have some avatars who've come in to check out the workshop. This is our soft Saturday opening. We're actually technically promoting opening tomorrow, which is typically which is a Sunday, and when usually Burning Man opens the gate. And so we've decided to go ahead and make this sort of our D-lot for today. And DJ Puddles is the unicorn with famous Puddles avatar, who is standing by getting ready for the workshop. I'm going to find out if it's going to be in chat, and then I'm going to read to you what the chat says. If it's not too extensive. We'll see how that goes. Okay, stand by. All right. I clicked everything. Okay. All right, let me see here. Okay, now I just found out that we have a live stream going on at Mixcloud. So I'm just going to go over there and see what's going on. This might be one of those types of things where the screen share happens. And if it does, the only thing is I'm going to find out if she is recording. Okay, yeah, it is being recorded locally. Now, why is there a problem? There we go. Now, I can see what DJ Puddles is doing. We have 60 seconds to start. I wonder if I can show you what I'm looking at. Let me unmute this and see. Didn't see a warning. Oh, that would be DJ Puddles tunes. The standby sound. Excellent. Okay, I see that somehow I am showing the Mixcloud. All right. Okay, then. So let's see how this is going to go. We're trying to figure out if this is something that will work. And so stand by with us. Thank you. Hey, it's starting.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming to the workshop. This is the first workshop. Advanced DJ skills and beat matching for live streaming DJs. Okay.
Yay, we can hear. Let me turn it up a bit.
So, what I would ask is if you have any questions, please save them until the end. Take a note of what your question is and save them for the end. Because, okay, haven't got enough time. That way everyone can get the course, and I'll stay as long as I need to for any questions that you have. The course seeks to provide an overview and demonstration of the technical and creative skills employed by DJs who beatmatch mix their music into one continuous music stream. The course is aimed at anyone with an interest of how it's done, from beginners to accomplished DJs who want to learn how to mix their tunes together without gaps. The subject matter will be of particular interest to aspiring dance music DJs, which is the genre most often associated with beatmatching. I'm going to discuss and demonstrate the techniques via this live video stream, and we'll take questions via the local text chat at the end. Although I'll be using the digital DJ app Virtual DJ Pro, the theory and techniques that I'm going to demonstrate you can apply to any software or hardware combination. So the goal of the workshop is to give you guys enough information that you can take the techniques learned and take them home and practice in your own time on your own equipment to become proficient beatmatching DJs. I'm going to create a video. Well, we'll keep this video and put it online, and I'll also make a booklet of these slides. What I need you to do, anybody who wants that, please message me with your email address in the chat or in private message, and I'll make sure you get the links. Okay, so this is Virtual DJ. Why is it gone all, hang on, that's a good start. Let's just transform that. There we go. Right. It's actually playing one of my earlier sets that I did at SL17B. Give us a little bit of background music. Right. On to hardware. There are lots of options for DJs. On the left-hand side are two options for DJs who are used to DJing in real life and they want to learn how to stream, whether that's in Second Life, like we are now at BURN2, or online radio, all that. Siri, quiet. Siri going off in the background. Right, on the right-hand column is for digital DJs or people who are new to DJing and they have music in MP3s or in iTunes, so digital media that's not CDs or vinyl records. Okay, so there's lots of options. Vinyl DJs can just DJ as they're used to using vinyl records, but there is a way using special records that have got time code that they can do a sort of hybrid thing where they control a DJ app with their vinyl records, but the records aren't playing music, they're playing time code, and that time code's understood by the DJ app, and it's just a way for people who are used to DJing with vinyl to be able to transfer their skills into the digital vein. There is a similar hybrid system for CDJs if you're a hardware DJ used to using CDJs, so that you can use CDJs but also a DJ app. That's on the left hand side. On the right hand side there are some options. The very basic, the most basic option is just a laptop with a streaming encoder, and if you're the kind of DJ who just plays, you know, like from a playlist in iTunes and you talk in between the tunes, you don't beat match, then that's probably all you need. Just a simple player and a free streaming encoder, and off you go. However, if you're like us and me and you want to beat match your tunes, then you're going to need, at the very least, option 2, so that you've got a DJing app and some way of being able to listen to the preview and the main output. You can do that for a DJ splitter cable. However, that top section, I wouldn't recommend you do it, because there's one thing that you really do need if you're a beat matching DJ, and that's a hardware crossfader. It's very, very hard to control a crossfader properly with a mouse or a touchpad. You just don't get enough control. So you can get DJ controllers quite cheaply. The first one I got and learnt on cost me about £30 in the UK. So you don't have to spend a fortune. But the most important bit is the crossfader. Everything else is a bonus. Right. Quick word if you're a performer. Performers don't really necessarily need DJ applications, but they may have requirements in terms of microphones and music and connecting instruments. So the thing you've got to be careful as a musician is USB microphones create a delay, otherwise known as latency. That can actually make them sometimes unsuitable. If you're trying to sing to backing music and your microphone's causing a delay, you're just going to be completely out of sync with your song. So there are ways around that. You can get really good quality external sound decks with very low latency, and sometimes that's the way to go. I mean, some performers just use a headset and actually use the microphone input of the computer. In some instances, that can be enough. Oh, I've forgotten to move the slides on. Here we go. Right. Now, let's talk about software. So, the very least you need is a streaming encoder to stream. Quite obvious, really. That one at the top left is called BUTT. Lots of people. BUTT. And what that stands for, broadcast using this tool. It's been around for ages. Very simple. The downside to just using a streaming encoder is, in most cases, you cannot get it to send what's called metadata. Metadata is the cool thing that streams in real time to let the audience know the artist, track and remix that you're playing. When you're using Shoutcast or Icecast, this can actually appear in the text chat when you're in a club in Second Life. And it's really cool because it's as a DJ, you're letting your audience know what tunes you're playing, because if they like them, they can note them down and get it themselves. And there's one or two labels now, there's a few, who actually send me their music for free in advance of public release, which is really cool. But they do that because I'm essentially promoting them as a DJ. And you've got much better chance of the labels doing stuff like that if they know that you're, actually letting your audience know what the tunes are playing. When I'm DJing with a video stream, I actually put the name, the artist, track and remix onto the screen, We'll come on to that later. So anyway, another option if you've already got a DJ app is to just add a streaming encoder if it doesn't have it built in, or you're using a free app that doesn't have it built in. Again, it's not the ideal solution because it doesn't support metadata streaming. So on the right is the ideal solution for beatmatching DJs, which is a fully integrated professional DJ app with recording and streaming built in. Now I use Virtual DJ Pro, which costs money, but there is an open source app called Mix, MI and 3 X's, MIXXX, and that's pretty good, completely free, open source. So you do not have to spend a fortune to get set up streaming and beat matching. Okay, let's just look at an overview about streaming so you understand what it is. The one other bit in the chain that you need is an account or the login details for a streaming server. So you can get this from the Second Life marketplace, and you can hire them a streaming account for a server, or if you're performing for one of the BURN2 events, I've got a server that I'm letting people use the streams for free of charge. So a lot of clubs and events will actually give you streaming accounts to use for their club and event. So you can get your own. They're not expensive, but why pay money when you can get them for free? So basically, how it works, your encoder or DJ app sends a single digital music stream to the server, and then depending on how many listeners you've got from all over the world, when they connect, it replicates the stream in real time to all of them. There's about a 10-second delay from when the music leaves you to when it arrives at the listener's end. In most cases, the process is completely automatic. And in fact, in Second Life, the stream is set by the land administrators, and for the BURN2 events, those of us who are stage hosts will be putting the stream into the land, or the performers themselves and the DJs themselves. If they know how to do it, they'll be doing it themselves at the handover time. And that's how it works. So at the top of the hour, you just drop in a new stream, and automatically all of the avatars at the event or the club or the stage in that parcel of virtual land will all hear the new stream. Or at the very least, their browser will ask them if they want to listen to the stream and accept it. And of course you do. Right, moving on. This is just a slide about how to configure your encoder or DJ app for streaming. Now there's an awful lot of data there. Don't worry about it too much. You don't really need to know what a lot of this stuff means. Some of you might know, but you don't need to. And a lot of this data will be given to you. Either if you hire a stream, or the club, or the event, will give you the details you need to put this data into your streaming software. And it's always good to set these configurations up way in advance of your set or the event so that you can test the stream at a time when other DJs aren't using it. Make sure everything works. Nothing more embarrassing than turning up to do your set, finding out you've got a configuration problem, and then there's a big panic because your set starts late while you're trying to sort everything out. So do all these things up in advance. Right, now we're getting down to the nitty gritty of music and DJing. Now, the overwhelming majority of dance music is written in what's called 4/4 time. And you will see at the top left, a lot of music, most music, has those two fours after the double clef. Now, the top number indicates how many beats will be present in a bar. And the bottom number indicates what kind of note is considered one beat. So for 4/4 music, if you look at the yellow highlighted area, that means that a quarter note or crotchet is one beat, and there are 4 of them to a bar. Okay? I hope that makes sense to everyone, because it's very important. That first beat in a bar is what we call a downbeat, and it's very important for DJs because that's the beat that we use to synchronize 2 tracks together. Now, I'm going to show you a bit of music because it doesn't really matter if you're playing classical music or trance music. It's all 4/4, it's all music, it's all beats and bars. So, have a look at this. Right, so this is what's known as a 4 to the floor drum beat, which is used in millions and millions of sort of as the bass line, if you like, for rock and pop tunes. And what's happening there is the hi-hat. Can you hear me okay? Because I can't hear what my levels were. So what's happening is the hi-hat is being hit every beat in the bar. So there's 4 hi-hats, and then the bass drum is on the first downbeat, and the snare is on the 3rd beat. But it's just a good example how you can get your head around 4 to the floor, 4/4, 4 beats in the bar. Right, moving on. can see there that it can be a classical piano or it can be a trance tune, but it all works with 4/4 music. Here's a trance tune being played on the piano, very famous trance tune. 4/4 music. Music and dance music these days is made with things called sequencers. And here's a sequencer. This is Ableton, which a lot of people use. And you can see actually instead of musical notation bars, you've got blocks, but it's still performing the same function. And you know, those little blocks will contain the beats, and that's how it works. Right, moving on. Tempo. Tempo equals speed equals BPM. So the faster a tune, the higher the BPM value. So even though it's 4/4 music, you can still have 4/4 music that's at, you know, 96 BPM or 168 BPM. It's a bit like speeding up a metronome. The beats get faster. And it's so important that in electronic dance music, the tempo partially defines the genre. So, for instance, you wouldn't be able to have a power ballad at 160 BPMs. It would be crazy. An 80 BPM drum and bass track. That would sound crazy too. So, you'll get to know, if you DJ a lot, what the BPM your style is and the kind of music you play. I tend to like and play a lot of uplifting trance, which is around 138, 140 BPM. And I particularly like psytrance, which generally is a bit faster. Well, the stuff I play is. So that can go up to 147 BPM. Right. We're going to come on to beat matching. So, at the top of this slide is a typical structure of a dance music tune. They're not all exactly like this, but they are to some extent. It sort of is a rough guide. And if you get extended mixes, they're specifically designed for DJs. And even if they're big vocal tunes, they generally will start and end with percussion, just drums. Not too much melody, because they're much easier to mix that way. Right, in fact, let's have a quick look over at my virtual DJ, and you can see my mouse. Now if we look at the waveforms of the two tracks, okay, in deck A and deck B, you can actually see the blocks, and those are blocks of 8 or 16 bars, and you can see at a glance. And if you look, you've got these drums at the front and this at the end. On this side, this would be considered the intro. And that would be the outro, but you could also loosely call that whole section there the outro. So all the good stuff is in the middle. Okay. So when you beat match, what you do is you synchronize the downbeat of the incoming track with the downbeat of the outgoing track. So let's do a little demonstration of that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave the crossfader in the middle. So you wouldn't normally do that. You would normally do it as a preview. But for the purposes of demonstration, we'll do it this way. We'll just play here. You can see the top. It's very heavily filtered. So you see the bass drums. So here's the downbeat on the incoming tune, and here comes the downbeat on the outgoing tune, and go! And then, you can hear they're almost there, so you need to just nudge them in. Not quite. There we go. Now they're running in sync. You see the beats, downbeats are synchronized, which means the structure of the two tunes are synchronized. Okay. So let's come back to slides. Right. So that's beat matching, and you need to practice and practice and practice and practice to get good at that. Some common errors in beat matching are tempo excuse me, tempo and phase mismatching. Now, because DJ software these days is extremely good at scanning your tracks and working out the BPM, then it's pretty unlikely that you're going to have a tempo mismatch. If you do, it means if you just glance at your two decks, it will mean that one of them has a different BPM. So you need to adjust whilst you're listening to the preview mix before you do the main mix. You should just make sure that the incoming track has the same BPM as the outgoing track. It's as simple as that to fix a tempo mismatch. Now a phase mismatch is where you get the proverbial three-legged donkey. So let's just demonstrate a phase mismatch. So back to here, and I will, started it in a really horrible place. Three-legged donkey. No, that's no good at all. So we stop that. Find your downbeat and resynchronize. There we go. Much better. Okay. So, 1 second. Let's put some a little bit of backing tune. Right. Where do I get to? Beat errors. So what we're wanting is that at the bottom. All our beats beautifully aligned. Now sometimes you will find, because for various boring reasons to do with bass drums and waveforms, the red and the blue, if you've got it set like that, of the two tracks visually will look like they're slightly out. But let your ears be the guide. Ultimately, your ears have precedence, and with experience and practice, you will be able to tell when a tune is in beat matched and in phase and when it's not. And what you can do when you're listening to the preview is use your gain level to boost the gain on the incoming track. It will help you as you're just nudging those two tracks perfectly into being beat matched, because only you hear what's happening on the preview, not the audience. Until you crossfade, it's just you listening to the preview. So you use the preview and you take your time to make sure your two tracks are running perfectly matched and in phase and in sync. Okay, waveforms. So these are just pictures I took from my virtual DJ that you've already seen. So this top graph is showing you the whole track, and it's using a thing called false color. And false color is really good because it's to do with the energy of the waveform, the actual audio waveform, and how uniform it is. And because of that, you can tell that this blue section is vocals. You may have never heard this song before, maybe playing it for the first time, but just by looking at that waveform with experience, you start knowing how to read the waveform. So you can see the intro, percussion, you can see where the vocals start, and then you can see points where those green arrows, those will be big drops. That'll be where it builds up to a brilliant crescendo and the crowd go wild and give you tips. So, and the top, so the next graph is the heavily filtered waveform that's basically just showing you the bass drum, and it's really useful for aligning your downbeats. Now, it's usually best to synchronize your downbeats on 16 bar intervals, because the structure of the music means that the biggest changes tend to happen at 16 bar intervals. But you can get away with synchronizing on 8 bar sections and intervals as well. So those are the pink. So if you imagine that the pink and yellow arrows together are 8 bar increments, and the yellow arrows on their own are 16 bar increments on that waveform. So it's just the same as that musical notation we were looking at before, but the information that's important to us is the beat. So we don't need anything else. Right. Waveforms. Now, crossfaders. Hope you can see this graph. This slide clearly. It is very strongly recommended that you use a physical crossfader on a DJ controller or mixer. It's really important. But that hardware controller is controlling the DJ software crossfader. So if we look at my VDJ. See, my mouse is here with my right hand, but as if by magic, the crossfader moves, because in my left hand, I'm moving it on my hardware controller. And when you can move it with your hand, you've got infinite amount of really precise control. If you try and do that with your mouse slips and sticks, and it's just really, really hard to do a smooth crossfade with a mouse. And you go down here, and then sometimes it's stuck, and just don't bother. Use a hardware controller. Much, much better. Right. Hang on. Oops. Where's my mouse? Right. So, when your hardware controller is controlling the software, though, you can set the crossfader curve. Now, most DJs use a curve that's called full, and that provides a gradual mix from the left track to the right track, or track A, deck A to deck B. But at the middle, everything's at 100%. So on the crossfader, the graph of crossfader curves, the full crossfader curve is the one at the bottom left. There are some DJs, depending on what they're doing, there's one called smooth, which means that at the middle, both decks are at 50%. But the problem with that, if you're a dance music DJ and you're beat matching, is the minute you start going from left to right, your outgoing track is getting quieter. But quite often there are times where you want to sneak the incoming tune in to halfway whilst turning down some of the EQ or using the level fader. So it's not just the crossfader you use quite often to create a transition. So that's why most beat matching DJs will use the full curve. And cut and scratch, well, they're just really for crazy cutting and scratching DJs. I don't know, never used that. Anyway, they're sudden. There's no mixing going on there. A cut or a scratch is like a cliff. You've got nothing and then you've got everything. Suddenly. I mean, that cut, it acts like a switch. Literally, on, off, toggle, left, right, switch. And so does scratch, really. Just, anyway. No good at all for beat matching. Right. One thing you've got to be aware of, especially when you're using that full curve, is if you've got two identical tunes synced together, two identical bass drums, when you put them together, they sort of sum together. You get plus 6 dBs and the waveform doubles, which is what you can see happening on that graph at the bottom left. And conversely, if the waveforms are 90 degrees out of phase, so the peak from one waveform synchronizes with the trough from the other track and vice versa, then what happens is you get a thing called waveform cancellation, and it actually massively reduces the level of your track. Sometimes known as phase reversal. But anyway, most of the time you will find that what's actually happening is this thing on the left hand side where the two waveforms sum together and everything gets suddenly much louder at the midpoint. So you've got to be careful about that. and you've got to adjust for it. So you can adjust for it using the channel fader, which is the fine adjustment fader. So you've got a cross fader, and each channel has a channel fader. And as the name suggests, the cross fader is from left to right, across, but the channel fader goes up and down. So on my VDJ, here's my channel fader. This is fine adjustment, okay? But I've also got gain pot. So normally, for nominal level, the gain will be in the middle here. Trying to find it there. And the channel fader on Virtual DJ, the nominal level is at the top. So that's what you'd call zero level. You're outputting what you're inputting, so you're not giving any gain or attenuation to the track you're playing, which is where you want to be most of the time. You should only add or attenuate for a reason, and set all your kit up to transparency at zero level. Okay. So let's move on to harmonics. Right. Harmonic relationships between different songs have been understood way back in the 17th century. But in 1991, a clever DJ called Mark Davis invented a thing called the Camelot wheel as an easier way for DJs to calculate compatible keys. Now, all tracks, generally speaking, have what's known as a predominant or initial key. The key of the tune is the group of pitches that form the harmonic basis of the composition. Not to be confused with scale, which is something else. You can think of the key as the center of gravity harmonically for your song. Okay. Now, it's been worked out that you can use the Camelot wheel in order to mix harmonically to tunes that will have complementary keys. Now, at its most basic, you do what's shown here, which is you move one square. So if you look at the circle that's in the middle, if you were playing a tune in A minor, which in Camelot notation is 8A, then you can quite happily mix another 8A tune or move around the wheel by one space. So you could go to 9A or 7A or 8B. What you couldn't do is go to 9B, because that would be a diagonal. You're not allowed diagonals. Okay? That's a safe way to harmonically move around the Camelot wheel. Now, there are some tricks that you can do in harmonics. If you go +2 on the wheel, so for instance 5A on your outgoing tune, and you move around to 7A, you will create what is known as an energy boost. It's quite a cool effect, and without changing the BPM or tempo of the track, it gives your mix more energy, and it's quite pleasing for the audience. And there is a variation of this trick, which is going -5 or +7. And it's used quite a lot by Armin van Buuren, usually in his first mix to really get the party going. So from track 1 to track 2, a lot of his mixes he will go -5 or +7. And it's a great trick. And I use harmonic mixing a lot because it just helps. If we go to my history here, let's have a look. Oh, well, that's not a very good example. All over the place. If you look at the key column, see, that's quite a good one. So, gone from 5A to 7A, so that's an energy boost. Stayed at 7A, gone -5, which is the energy boost variation, to 2A, then +1 to 3A, then +2 to 5B, so we've got another energy boost going on. So that set that you can see, that is using harmonic mixing to some degree. Not perfectly, because sometimes there's a reason why you may want to go to a specific tune, and if they're not harmonically compatible, then you can use what I call the get out of harmonic gel free mix. And what you do there, a bit like you can see on the graphic at the bottom left, if you take the mid and high out of the tune, you'll be removing most of the melodic elements, and you're left with pretty much just the bass drum. And that allows you to mix in a tune using that EQ pattern, and you can get the crossfader way past halfway before you bring the middle and the high back in, at a point where the audience aren't going to notice so much that there's been a radical change in key going on. It's hard to explain, but it's one of those things that you should really experiment with. You should use EQ a lot during your transitions when you get comfortable. I mean, experiment, practice and experiment, and you'll figure it out. And when you look at DJs who are DJing and you see them twiddling knobs, they're either doing one of two things. They're pretending they're busy and showing off and really not doing anything, and turning knobs on channels that aren't even doing anything, which I've seen happen. Or they're actually adjusting EQ and doing cool stuff with EQ, which is what it should be doing. But you don't need to twiddle flipping knobs all the time. I'm very suspicious of constantly knob twiddling DJs. Right, so microphones like I'm talking to you on now, and samples like my awesome samples. Where are we?
This is DJ Puddles.
Oh yeah.
The Fairy of Trance. And the Space Unicorn.
Oh, I love them. So, as you can see, there's the sample bank.
That's great.
The real one that you can see on Virtual DJ over here. And that's what you can trigger. Most pro DJ apps will have a sample bank that you can load up with all your drops. I've got ones for BURN2, especially for BURN2.
On the player and on the decks. In the desert and in the mix. Live at BURN2. This is DJ Puddles.
So So you can string them all together. No end of possibilities. That's the best way to get your DJ drops made. Is don't get great big long sentences. You just want short little to the point drops that you can play in different orders. Mix and match. Different voices.
DJ Puddles in the mix.
Yeah, great. Great fun. It just adds polish to your set to use them. On the right here on this slide is what's known as a cart machine, which is commonly found in radio stations from years ago. It's how they used to play their jingles in cassette cartridges. Nowadays, this is a digital version that you can actually get on an iPad. It's called the IAC Cartwall app that you can run on an iPad. And if you've got an external mixer, you can have a separate iPad for your samples running into your mixer just from the headphone output from the iPad. The other thing you can do, of course, is effects. Anyone who listens to my sets will know how much I love the flanger. Let's demonstrate a bit of flanger for you. Yeah. Oh, I do love the flanger. But you've got to try and resist the temptation from overusing effects, because they will drive your audience mad. And remember that the producers have spent a lot of time making their tracks cool, so you don't need to mess with them too much. Okay, recording. So most DJ apps have the ability to record your sets. I would suggest that you record using a lossless format, like FLAC. Virtual DJ allows you to record in FLAC, which is one of the more efficient formats for lossless, but it still creates big files. They're big files, but it means that if you need to edit your set's audio, perhaps you recorded too much silence at the beginning or the end, and you can edit it in a free application like Audacity. And when you save your edit, there won't be any quality drop. But if you want to store it for iTunes or upload it, quite often you'll then want to export it and compress it. AAC is more efficient than MP3, but MP3 is ubiquitous everywhere, and it's compatible with zillions of things. Now, uploading your sets. There aren't many places that have licensing agreements with the labels to allow you to legally upload your music. But free here, Mixcloud, PlayDG TV, and HearThis.at, they have free and paid for account options. We are using Mixcloud Live right now for this workshop. I also use Mixcloud to upload my sets for my fans to listen to. At the moment, they don't record your video streams if you're video streaming a set. So Mixcloud isn't recording this, it's just streaming it live to you, the video. But you can record locally. I'm recording via OBS, which we'll come to in a minute. So PlayDJ TV is a new kid on the block. This is a new streaming service. They are a bit more expensive than Mixcloud, but they've got some more features, and they promise that in the future they will record, as well as streaming live, they will record your video streams. So will be cool. Here, this is a German host. They are free, but they have upload limits, and for streaming you can only use audio Icecast. Okay, video streaming, which is what we're doing now. I'm using OBS to broadcast this course to you. And you can also use what's called VJ apps, which produce video. In fact, Virtual DJ, let me just show you, has its own VJing thing built in. Oh, what's it doing? Oh, it's got keys set up on it. But hang on. If I put the shader on, there we go. So I can put this screen on another monitor, and it outputs video, and it's actually procedurally generating these visuals. It's quite clever. There's a procedurally generated rays. And as you so these are called shaders. But you can also get standalone apps that will do all of that better than Virtual DJ. I just use Virtual DJ's video output to superimpose the track information onto screen, like you can see on this slide. You can of course use a webcam if you want to show your audience your cool mixing in real life. You know, use a green screen and get all fancy. And you can just use a mixture of all of it. Use OBS to put your logos and visuals and put them over your live video. And you can send the live video. You can send the live video of what you're doing. For instance, where is it? Oops. Wait a minute. Why isn't that working? Hang on. Oh well. You were supposed to be seeing yourselves. We've got... I've not got it working. Anyway, moving swiftly on. That's it! Right! I hope that's helped you with some of the concepts and techniques you need for beatmatch mixing and streaming. So please do message me with your email address if you would like a copy of the slides and a link to the video. I'm going to turn the slides into a PDF document that I can email out. But practice really does make perfect. The important thing to do is to take this knowledge and practice like mad on your own equipment, beat matching, and before long you'll pick it up. But you never stop getting better. The more experience and practice, the more proficient you will get. I'm still getting new tricks, you know, after doing it for a few years now. And it's great fun. I really enjoy it. There's few things more satisfying and sharing music that you love with people, and they're really appreciating it. It's great. So, good luck. So, if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Stick them in the local chat.
Live from the UK.
No?
The Fairy and the Space Unicorn. DJ Puddles in the mix.
You can private message me if you have any questions.
All right, you are watching our YouTube stream channel as we try to double stream on Mixcloud and YouTube. Hope that's okay.
Quite standard.
Thanks for watching,
Yeah,
DJ Puddles. Advanced DJ
192K
skills.
MP3 streams most of the time. My radio station, Space Unicorn Radio, is permanently on 192. If the bit rate that you can set your stream to is just a setting on the Shoutcast server. You can use mine up to 320 kilobits per second if you're using one of my Space Unicorn streams. However, a word of caution. Remember that people who are listening to your stream, especially Space Unicorn Radio, they might be on mobile devices and they might be listening over cellular 3G. And so you've got to be careful you don't use too much bandwidth that is going to make it impractical for the listeners to reach the widest listener base. So it's a trade-off. 192 kilobits per second MP3 is considered pretty good for most people who are listening to music through a computer. If you're a real audiophile with an amazing speaker and amplifier setup, then yeah, sure. You can probably tell quite easily the difference between 192 MP3 and 320. I mean, AAC is more efficient and better, but people don't tend to use it that much because of compatibility. Right, sorry. That answered your question. How many users is it least to have for the BURN2? Well, if you're using your own stream, in all honesty, you probably won't need more than 100 because of the limitation of Sims and how many people can get in there. Occasionally at BURN2 events, the same stream is playing on multiple Sims. And when that happens, occasionally it can peak a bit more. I mean, certainly for BURN2 VRC, you will not need more than 100. But for Octoburn, if you want to be extra safe and sure that you're not going to max out, then you could use a 300 max stream for that week. On my Space Unicorn Radio streams, if you're using the ones that the stage hosts are lending to the performers, then that one is set for a maximum of 300, so you won't have a problem. There's 4 separate streams that you can use, and they're all set to 300 bags of bandwidth. So I think, Robin, you're using one of our streams, aren't you? So you'll be fine. You'll be fine. If you're hiring a stream through the marketplace, then you can specify the max listeners. You just pay a little bit more for 300 listeners maximum than 100. It's not an awful lot, but for VRC, for a single sim event, you'll be fine with 100. Even if the sim gets completely maxed out, you'll be fine. And for a major multi-sim events like BURN2, the Multiverse, or the Second Life birthday events, then you'll be fine with a maximum of 300. Yeah, the avatar limits, they're a bit complicated because they've changed. And it depends on the kind of sim. And it also depends, for instance, the region administrators can get into a sim even when it's full. So it gets a bit complicated. But if you Google Second Life maximum limits, there's a handy wiki page somewhere that's got all sorts of data on maximums. Things like maximum height and maximum size and maximum all sorts. But it goes into complicated explanation of sim avatar limits. Okay. Any more questions?
That was great, DJ Puddles. Really enjoyed that. Learned a little bit here and there. Oh.
We're there. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming. Have a great burn event. Don't forget to send me your email addresses if you want me to send you the PDF file for reference of these slides about beat matching. And have a really great party. I'll see you at BURN2 at the event. And good luck with all your experiments in learning to DJ. I'll leave the stream going with some visuals for a bit.
All right. Thank you, DJ Puddles. That was amazing. Amazeballs. Lots of information. I just want to say thank you as I sign off the live stream. And I'm live streaming on YouTube, and Puddles is live streaming on Mixcloud. These two stations are going to be available all week long, especially when we get super crowded. And so there'll be other workshops available on our website. We have a schedule. You can look there and see other websites. This is Super Suze, your host of the YouTube channel and occasionally the Mixcloud. DJ Puddles is streaming and hosting on the Mixcloud station. So tell all your friends if you can't make it in world, and we would love to see you in world. Folks, burners, come on in. If you can get in with your free avatar, it's the best way. But if you can't, we do have some streaming going on. for you to enjoy and learn and listen to music with our performers. But I would suggest that you take a look at the website and see how easy it is to download your own avatar and viewer and come on in and dance with us and play with us and enjoy the art of BURN2 in Second Life. Once again, thank you, DJ Puddles. Amazing, professional, quality instruction. That was so good. I wonder if I should not even have my not even halfway high quality of instruction on my introduction to streaming, which is happening tomorrow. Look on the schedule. All right.